Something being natural doesn't mean it can't also be gross. And everyone seems to agree when it's about poop and piss. But God forbid someone find periods menstruation gross, then they are immature because periods are natural. Yet this same logic doesn't hold with other bodily discharges. Added to clarify, I am talking about both the act e.g. pooping and the excretion that occurs from it e.g. poop. Both are gross. The grossest things are all natural. Body odor is natural and extremely gross. It's gross, as are many things, but for me, I think when people say it's natural, it's more about assessing our tolerance or offense to things we do not find pleasant that cannot be helped naturally. Everybody poops, grows body hair, body odor, etc. We can acknowledge it is unpleasant without causing a scene or going over the top to embarrass somebody. My problem is the dudes who love piss, fart and shit jokes but can't handle a woman saying she started her period in front of him. Those are the ones I can't understand. They are both natural. I agree. However, girls in school having to hide a tampon or pad as you walk to the bathroom, and the stigma around it all is so unnecessary. It's natural and totally gross at times. And if somebody bleeds through their pants, don't make it out to be super gross. It is not the same as pooping your pants because you can't hold in your blood. And they're already gonna be embarrassed about it most likely. But yeah, if I could choose away all the blood etc. that a period causes, that would be great. I've always wondered how people who are afraid of blood handle their periods. Even I as a woman get grossed out whenever I'm on my period. I don't mind people finding it gross. What I do get upset is when people shame people who can get periods. Little girls, teen girls and women are shamed for menstruating. Some cultures force them to live in a hut during their cycles because they think it's dirty and bad for men to be around them. So yeah, people will call you immature for adding it. It is gross, but too many people, especially men, are disgusted by pads and tampons being visible in their respective boxes and packaging. A wrapped tampon is no more gross than a baby wipe or toilet paper. The human species as a whole is gross. Change my mind. Who's gonna tell them how they were born? It's not that we don't agree these things are gross, it's the disparity in the way people respond. If someone is like I gotta piss or I gotta shit, most people don't go you because it's just a part of life. But if someone is like I gotta change my pad or I'm having my period, the responses are way less chill. It's all gross, naturally bodily function, but there's a clear difference in how acceptable it is to talk about one versus the others. Calling menstruation gross has a big psychological effect on young girls who get them, and it shames them. Otherwise I'd agree. This 100,000 comes down to how you act. I think most people would agree a period is gross. That doesn't mean it's okay to mock, make fun of or look down on someone for one. For example, if a girl has blood on her pants, a good person will pull aside and kindly tell her. An immature child would make jokes or say something like he would just be mature. I agree that all those things are gross, but it also feels like such an unnecessary pain in the arse to hide the fact that they exist. Ejaculation is gross, but I don't call it that because I don't possess that bodily function. If I were to go around talking about how nasty it is, it would be a little weird. Do you understand what I mean? If the thing you're saying is gross happens to other people but not you, assuming you're male, there's an element of othering the group of people whose bodies you're talking about like this. I mean, I get it, but you can control when you poop most of the time, but you can't control when you menstruate, lol. Finding something gross is different to creating such a taboo around it that just the word period becomes uncomfortable to say or discuss. It's gross, but it's something people have to deal with. My dad gets grossed out if I even say the word tampon. Destigmatizing periods and blood is a good thing, tbh. I mean, I guess period blood, pee and poop are all gross if you like. Get them on your sheets. But talking about them shouldn't be gross. Like, if someone tells you about it cause it's relevant, can't eat that because I have IBS, or have you ever tried X meds for a UTI? Or sorry I sounded off, I was really hurting from period cramps. It's not gross? A lot of men are under the impression that periods can be held the same way you hold a poo or piss. Periods are gross, but if I see a girl's period leaking through her pants, I'm not gonna think ew gross, I'm gonna help her as a fellow woman. If I see someone poot in their pants publicly, I'm gonna flee, lol. I mean, yes, if someone's blood got on me I'd be grossed out, but I'm not grossed out merely by the fact people have periods. I understand not wanting to see, touch or smell period blood, but I do not understand guys who get grossed out and freak out when people mention or talk about periods, and guys who freak out when their girlfriends ask them to buy them pads, tampons. Being grossed out by bodily fluids and excretions is valid. Being grossed out by the mere thought of a bodily function is weird. Some food dye are all natural because they are really bug guts. Society has agreed that acknowledging they happen is fine. If someone tried to rub your face in used TP or a used tampon, that's an understandable freakout. Being grossed out over people simply discussing the existence of bodily functions? That's where it becomes childish. Periods are gross. But that doesn't mean women have to hide them away in shame. I mean, it's really not the same. I see posts all the time of men and boys who don't even want to see pads or tampons in the aisle at the store or on the counter in their own home. No one complains about seeing toilet paper. This same goes for any bodily fluids from a stranger, be it shit, piss, spit, puss, sperm, or blood. People think it's gross and don't want to touch, see or hear about it. I don't see any valid argument why blood from vagina should be different. Thinking something is gross doesn't equal shaming PPL who get periods SMH. I find my own period gross because I'm literally bleeding out of my vagina and blood is pretty gross. I don't think I'm gross for having a period, just that the physical stuff itself isn't very pleasant. That doesn't mean I don't talk about my period or that people should have to hide that they're on their period or some shit. I just think it's kind of gross. The people in the comments who have the reading comprehension of a 6-year-old are way more immature than op. I consider pooping to be gross. But I don't require a guest to leave my house in order to poop. I don't ask them about the quality of their poop or how they feel about their poop. I have periods and consider them to be a little gross. I don't want someone celebrating bodily fluids coming out of my body. I also don't want anyone shaming me for having bodily fluids coming out of my body. Unless you're a medical professional. You shouldn't be asking anyone about any of their bodily fluids. I'll make an exception about joking about pee turning green after eating asparagus. Are nature eyes metal? I feel like if you're sitting there freaking out that someone pooped or peed in a perfectly normal circumstance, yeah, you're immature. If you're freaking out that someone is shitting in front of you on the floor or something, yeah, sure, I get it. Same with menstruation. If you're freaking out that women menstruate and you are not looking at touching it and freaking out, you're immature. If she's wiping the blood across your forehead like you're Simba, go ahead and be grossed out. True, shit, puke, rotten meat, pus. All natural and disgusting. I'm sure OP won't see this, but I hate this take, and this take is posted here a lot because it misses the point. Periods are gross, but they're normal. No one treats people who poop as dirty people, or less than. No one gets segregated to outdoor sleeping facilities away from shelter, warmth, and family because they poop. People who get periods absolutely get treated like this when having their period, and that's the problem. The idea is not that periods aren't gross, it's that the people who haven't them aren't gross for having them. Poop is more gross than menstruation. In what context would you find a period gross? I could understand not wanting to have period sex, but just thinking it's gross in general is weird. No one yells "ew gross" when someone says "excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom." I think people get angry about this because normally people who find periods gross don't actually have to deal with them. And that's bullshit. I find tossed and used toilet paper as gross as I find used tampons tossed. Sue me. I agree with you op. Not unpopular. Why does trash like this keep being posted? Everyone knows this. A lot of shit is gross. The difference is if you're making female acquaintances feel bad for natural shit like that by going ew or some lame ass shit, it makes you grosser to everybody with more than 2 EQ around you in the room. I'm a woman. Menstruation is not a beautiful, noble thing. It's messy and uncomfortable, and yes, sometimes gross. Who the fuck passes a clot and thinks it's not nasty? Trying to tell me otherwise is just patronizing AF. Periods can be very gross, especially when you're not expecting them and you wake up all sticky and shit. What's immature is not being able to accept that it's gross. Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I personally find pregnancy revolting. Can't stand any part of it. I find the who process incredibly gross and unappealing, and I want nothing to do with it. Everyone always counters with "but it's not too raw," like yeah okay, it's natural, doesn't mean it's not disgusting and creepy. This was disappointing. I was hoping it steered into a more interesting topic of gross natural things. Like bacteria or deep water creatures or fungus. Anything instead of a middle school pee pee poo poo period debate. People hated him for he spiked the truth. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and kale are all natural too. Fuck kale. I'm pretty sure it's because some men act like periods are literally the most disgusting thing ever. They won't even hold clean pads, but they'll hold toilet paper. So women are just kind of saying it's natural because men are overly disgusted by it. It's more like any other blood than it is like pee or poop anyway. Shitting on someone's floor is gross. The fact that someone shits or might need toilet paper is not gross. Toilet paper should be freely provided in public restrooms. The above applies to periods,